Hi and welcome to the channel. No horse racing today. I managed to sneak in a video on HiFi, but I will be going back to the horse racing and I will get another odd HiFi in here and there when I can, but I'm not going out to buy stuff now. It's literally if something actually turns up by fluke or whatever that and I've got enough time to give a review, I will give that review. Trouble is, this has turned up and it's going back pretty quick, and I ain't had a lot of time. Something come up which has stopped me putting any videos out for a couple of days. Something, I wouldn't say it's unbelievably major, but something needed my attention kind of thing. Something needed sorted out, so that threw a bit of a spanner in the works. But I just had enough time to give this a reasonable review, I think. This is a 3155 by NAD. Come out in 1985, I think it retailed at about £279 back then. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a comparison to the Sansui 101, which came out in 1973, cost about £80 back then, I think, and it's rated at 15 watts a channel. This is rated at 55 watts a channel. Into 8 ohms, and the reason I got this is my brother's, and he hasn't used this for ages, so I did give it a good run in really. He hasn't used this for ages, and the reason he hasn't used it is a common fault with this amplifier is the volume control, very crackly, because we've got gaps at the top here. The volume control sits there and there's a gap at the volume control where the wiper goes round, dust gets in, affects the wiper, and that causes the crackle. But it took a couple of attempts to clear that, a couple of sprays, didn't do it first time. A couple more sprays and we finally got it done. So it's a spray kind of thing. Got some cleaning videos on there, and you have to go and give it a go and whatever, and all of a sudden it comes back again. Another spray, sorted that out, and sometimes it can take more than that. I had a Sansui, I've still got it, a Sansui 331. Took about probably nearly a year, I'm no kidding, spraying it every now and again. Had a dead spot, just couldn't get rid of that dead spot. Then all of a sudden cleared itself. That spray got in there, finally cleared whatever's stopping the wiper going over that dead spot. Just a bit of dirt probably fell off the carbon track, and now that works nicely, which is great, because I was a little bit peeved off with that, thinking, oh, I've got a little bit of a dead spot. It wasn't the end of the world, but it's nice to have it a nice flowing with the volume that suddenly cuts out and comes back in again because of the dead spot. Anyway, I'm waffling, do waffle, sorry, that is part of my trade. Okay, going to compare it with this 101, like I said. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the features on it. It's got a few little features here. Well, a lot more features than this has got, but it's got a few here you may want to take into consideration. It's got, first of all, it's got a bass EQ. It adds 6 dB at 32 Hz, so if you've got some enclosed speakers or something like that, can't deliver the really low end, this helps it. This will give another 6 dB, but extra help at 32 Hz. So that has got that on the front. I'm going to skip across here. We've got the record where we can select which input. It's not actually the same times the one you're listening to. You can record where you want to record from. You can select it there. We've got a normal loudness. The volume's at the end, and we've got the bass, the volume, the balance in the middle. Obviously got bass and treble there. Hasn't got a what do you call it, a direct input, so you can't get rid of it. It still goes through these control. Sometimes you have a direct input. Also, it's got soft clip in here. I've got it turned off at the moment. No, it's not plugged in. It's got soft clip in here. I've done my test when I was listening to it with soft clipping off, but this will help protect your speakers. For instance, if you had 100 watt pairs of speakers, or even bigger really, and you had this yanked right up, that will stop any spikes and hopefully save your tweeters getting blown. So you may want to turn this on, but for the test I've done it at medium kind of volume, didn't go above medium. I took the soft clipping off. I just thought I want to give it, let it flow kind of thing rather than getting cut off with that soft clipping. So that's the test I did on here. And that is about it really. Okay, so I haven't got a lot of speakers now. I've only got 2 sets of speakers, which is one's a Dynaco and the other one's a Solarvox. May not sound the greatest speakers in the world, but the Dynaco sound pretty good in my ears, so I'm pretty pleased with them. The systems I've had, they seem to do a good job, and that was a pretty good, but just still need a bit more tweak, to be honest with you. Mainly to do with the wadding, but I won't go into that. So the Dynaco 35s are the one I've done the listening to. So with this amp, and obviously done the listening comparison, there's also with the Sansui on that amp. Now, I pretty much know what it is. I've got a few bits written down in case I forget anything, but hopefully I'm going to remember it all off the top of my head. And this has got the kind of signature NAD sound. I wouldn't say it's got quite a signature NAD sound as the 3020 Series 20 that I had, but it's got the NAD kind of signature sound. So you turn it on, it's not going to surprise you. If you've got a few other NADs, this is the kind of sound you're going to get with this amplifier. Okay, I would say I'll start off with the bottom end. The bottom end was okay, it wasn't bad. but it wasn't great, you know what I mean? It was okay, a little bit cloudy. I thought the 101 done a better job, give more detail, definition in the bottom end than this did. It's got a reasonable bottom end to this as well, you know, it's got, you know, I wouldn't say it packs a punch, but it's got plenty of bottom end kind of thing, and mid bass as well. You know, it's got a reasonable amount of that, but I wouldn't say it packed a punch. It wasn't dynamic as this one here. It didn't pack as much of a punch, even though this is rated at 55 watts, this is rated at 15. Across the whole board, you know, if I said this is 55 and that's 15, you would say, you sure they're not both the same? They're pretty evenly matched, you know what I mean? The only time this wasn't evenly matched is when you start cranking this volume up quite loud, it starts to lose its way. It starts to lose its way. But if you've got it medium back down, you know, from medium, maximum medium kind of thing, which is fairly loud, you know what I mean, still fairly loud, it's okay. But as soon as you start pushing it too far, it does kind of lose its way a little bit. Where this would keep it, you start pushing this, it's, you know, I did do, but I didn't do it for too long. It does hold its own, you know what I mean? It doesn't lose its way, you know, as much as this one does. So I will say that. So if you want it loud, you want your music really loud, you're going to have a party kind of thing, this is going to do a better job holding it together than this is. It's going to start, you know, it's going to start losing its way. Okay, so that's it. So the bottom end was okay, wasn't too bad, but I think the 101 won it for me in that department. Going on to the vocals, male, female, we're going to go sax, piano, trumpet, that kind of thing. Done a reasonably good job here, you know what I mean? That was quite, you know, they were kind of the instruments, you're listening to them instruments, they sounded realistic kind of thing. And it done a fairly good job on those, I think, as well. But I just thought this, again, done a better job on those. They just had more timbre to them. They just had a little bit more detail to them and that. And I just preferred this over this. Going to the top end, it's got a reasonable amount of top end. I would say it's just a tad laid back, just a tad, and maybe just not quite as defined as this. This is had a more definition to the top end. And I think it done an overall better job with the top end as well. So this is one again over it with the top end. There's a reasonable amount of difference between the two. When you go across the board, there is a difference between the two, a reasonable amount. But where this had a reason, you know, had a reasonable amount, I suppose, of three-dimensional to it. If you're looking at three-dimensional kind of valvey sound, kind of had a bit of that, a little bit, but it didn't have as much as this. This had a more three-dimensional, valvey kind of sound, and this had more space around. This had some space around the instruments, the vocals, and all that, what you was listening to. But this had more. This kind of held them all separate. It was nice and easy to pick out. One wasn't interfering with the other. You know, the vocals were there. You think, oh, I can hear the vocals nice and clear. They're nice and clear. Oh, I can hear the drums. That's clear. I can hear the sax playing or something like that. The trumpet playing. That's clear. They're in their own kind of bubble. They're not interfering with each other. They're easy to pick out. It's still easy enough to pick out on here, but they didn't have that space around them, that kind of niceness to it, that kind of like blackness that some people say around them. This done a better job there. This is reasonably musical. It's quite a musical kind of amplifier, but this is even more musical. You know what I mean? This is going to get your toes tapping. This you know, was nice. You know what I mean? It was a pleasure putting this on. I'm not saying it wasn't a pleasure putting this on, but it was a pleasure putting this on. And for what they go for really near enough the same money now, believe it or not. Years ago, this used to go up for a little bit more, probably another £100 more, maybe another £150 more, but they seem to have evened out a little bit. I think the last one of these sold for about £150, and the last one I think that sold this was about £160, £170. So there's not a great deal of difference between them now. But for that kind of money, it's still a reasonable amp. You know what I mean? It's going to beat, I would say it's going to beat one of these Marantz things you buy at 350 quid, something like that new these days, when I'm only, you know, I'm guessing a bit because I haven't got that amp, but when I kind of see the other Marantz and Pioneer I had that was kind of similar price, kind of like bottom of the range stuff from a few years back, I would have thought this is going to beat them fairly easily. And this does as well, obviously. So, it's okay. I won't pay fortunes for it, you know what I mean? You know, £150 thereabouts. It's not a bad amp. It's got the power there. Like I say, it's not going to lose its way when you start cranking it up if you want it loud and that. And you're not one of these people who want a kind of valvey, three-dimensional sound. You don't mind your sound being a bit flatter than when we compare it to this 101. Then this is fine. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with this amp. It's a nice sounding amp. It's my brother's amp, so it's going to go back working. But what I'm going to say to him, because he plays the drums, my brother plays the drums, so you know, if you're listening to tracks, you want to hear the drums, but he probably knows what, I don't know too much about drumming and how it all works, kind of thing. He probably knows what, you know, where it's going, what's happening, and what drum that. He reads the music and all that. He reads the music and all that. He's been doing it years, so obviously he knows a million times more than me. But he needs to know where it is. But if he's listening out for the drums and that, I'll tell him, you know, I'm going to kind of bend his arm a bit. I'll say to him, he should get himself one of these, you know, for a reasonable, you know, he ain't spend fortunes, but for, you know, he's going to hear more definition on them than he is on this. This is what I would say. But this was pleasant enough to listen to. I had this going when I'm doing my bits of work I was doing, when I was doing other bits and pieces, trying to sort out the problem that I had, which has been bugging me for the days, whatever. This has been going on in the background, and it's been pleasant, it's been nice enough. It's a nice sounding amplifier, but when I do the comparison, you know, if I was to pick one or the other, I'd pick, I don't know, I'm a bit of a Sansui fan, but it's just got that sound to it. It's just got the sound. I'm kind of liking that. It's got that space around stuff, and when you're listening to it, you can just hear that space, you can hear that extra detail, that it add more dynamics to it. I think add more dynamics to it as well, even though, like I say, this is 55 watts, this had more punch and more dynamics to it at them volume levels than this did. But like I say, if you bought one of these, you won't be disappointed, I don't think. A lot of people getting recaps. I've been reading a few people, no reviews, but you know, just a few reviews in the line, but a lot of people have been getting these recaps, and there's a lot more capacitors in here. It's a bigger amplifier, and if that was the case, if you was going to go and buy one of these, he's thinking, oh, I don't think there's many people that are, but thinking, I don't know what one to get me, this one here or this one here, and when I'm going to get it, I'm going to go and get it recapped. Although this one's going to cost you a lot less to get recapped, because there's hardly any capacitors in this, you know what I mean, there's very few, but there's a lot more in here. So if you're kind of thinking that way, I'm going to go and buy an amplifier and I'm going to get recapped, not many people are probably going to do that, but this is going to cost you less if you're on a tight budget. And if you're on a tight budget, these are kind of two amplifiers that are going to fit in your category, because this is the kind of prices they're going for now. It's hard to get an amplifier. A few years ago you could pick up something probably for less than £100, but getting something reasonably decent second hand now, kind of creeping into that £150 bracket for what I can see on eBay. When I looked a few days ago now, when I got this in, I looked and, like I say, I had that bit of a problem, and I've kind of sit back for a couple of days and sort it out. But yeah, both contenders, I think. It would depend on your sound and loudness, I think, which one you picked out of the two. If you wanted it loud, more controlled, an higher volume, party kind of amplifier than this one here probably. But if you wanted that more valvey kind of three-dimensional sound and more detail, and just an overall kind of more musical amplifier, I'm not saying this ain't musical, but a more musical amplifier, then this would be the one. One thing I would say is when I compare this, what I can remember of the 3020, I haven't got a direct comparison here, but I've got a pretty good idea, I think, what it sounded like. This is miles clearer, this is clearer. That amplifier, that, you know, even though it's very musical and people love that 3020 Series 20, it's a bit of a muddy amplifier. The sound's a little bit muddy. To me, it's not clear. It's not like lovely and clear, but it still sounds good, and people do still like it. I did pass my mine on to what's his name, Kevin at Ditton Works. So I did get rid of mine, you know what I mean. I went over enthralled by it. It was okay, it was musical, but I wanted that more 3D, that more spacious sound, so I've kept the 101, and that's what it is. I really do like the 101, and I think even at £150 they're selling for now, it's still a good value for money, I think. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with that. And if anything did go wrong, it's not going to be that hard and expensive to repair. They're quite easy, accessible parts inside as well. Okay, that's it. I think I've kind of covered that. I'm probably going to come back with my brother's cassette deck. It's a NAD again, the 6220 I think it is, which I've done a little bit of head cleaning, etc. on that, because it sounded pretty dull. So I may just come back quickly with a cassette, depending when he picks these up, because I like to have them in front of me. I don't want to talk about stuff and go, well, where is it, Mick? You haven't got it in front of you, you're just making it up. I like to have it in front of me so you can see I've actually got it and I've actually listened to it, kind of thing, rather than just picking up a bit months later that I had and suddenly talk about it, because I could do that about a couple of other amplifiers and that, but if I haven't got them in front of me, I can't see the point myself. Okay, thanks for watching.